The date? 1939. In the stifling heat of July, the world was preparing for its own apocalypse. In Europe, steel factories were running day and night, tank treads were lining the borders, and the sky was darkening with the shadow of approaching death machines. On one side, the master of absolute power, tanks, hatred, and brute force, Adolf Hitler. On the other side, the symbol of conscience, civil disobedience, and soul force, Mahatma Gandhi. These two men never met. They never sat at the same table. But on that day, at that breaking point of history, the words emerging from Gandhi's typewriter were the last and perhaps the most powerful weapon trying to stop Hitler's steel armies. To address history's greatest monster, Gandhi wrote those strange, shocking, and incredible 2 words on his paper. Dear friend. Today on Unstamped Letters, we break the seal of that letter. We will witness history's strangest friendship proposal, one that could have changed the fate of millions, but failed to scale the walls of censorship. Can words stop tanks? Or are some doors locked only from the inside? The summer of 1939 marked the beginning of an autumn for Europe. Hitler had crumpled up and thrown away the Munich Agreement like a piece of waste paper and invaded Czechoslovakia. Now, he had set his sights on Poland, on the Danzig corridor. Britain and France were trembling in fear and desperation. The language of diplomacy was exhausted. The language of weapons had begun to speak. While the world shook with the sirens of German Stuka aircraft, thousands of kilometers away, in the rainy silence of Warda, another sound was heard. Gandhi's spinning wheel. Gandhi was 69 years old. High blood pressure and a frail body were taking their toll on him. His friends at the Sevagram ashram, especially the Jewish architect Hermann Kallenbach, were pleading with him. Bapu, you must do something. Write to Hitler. You are the only spiritual authority who can stop him. Gandhi hesitated. Would writing to a dictator not grant him legitimacy? Or how much resonance could the naive words of a dervish find within a Führer's ego? But the voice inside him, Satyagraha, the force of truth, commanded him not to remain silent. And on that day, July 23, 1939, he sat down at his typewriter.
Dear friend, friends have been urging me to write to you for the sake of humanity, but I have resisted their request because of the feeling that any letter from me would be an impertinence. Something tells me that I must not calculate and that I must make my appeal for whatever it may be worth. It is quite clear that you are today the one person in the world who can prevent a war which may reduce humanity to a savage state. Must you pay that price for an object, however worthy it may appear to you to be? Will you listen to the appeal of one who has deliberately shunned the method of war, not without considerable success? Anyway, I anticipate your forgiveness if I have erred in writing to you.
This letter never reached Berlin, never reached that marble table. The Viceroy of India, Lord Linlithgow, and the British colonial administration deemed this letter dangerous. Any contact Gandhi established with Hitler could weaken British war propaganda. The letter was consigned to the dusty archives of a government office in Simla. Gandhi's warning was buried inside a file. That savage state Gandhi warned of became reality. Just 5 weeks after the letter was written, on September 1st, the world was set ablaze. Poland fell. France fell. Europe was left gasping for air in the shadow of the swastika. By the end of 1940, Britain stood alone. London was shaken every night by the Luftwaffe's bombs. As Christmas approached, it was not snow that fell from the sky, but fire. It was Christmas Eve. While Manchester and London were engulfed in flames, Gandhi sat at his typewriter for the second time. This time, he was writing not to ask for peace, but to foretell Hitler's own end. Diplomatic courtesy was gone. What he faced was not a statesman, but an intoxication of power that had to be stopped.
Dear friend, that I address you as a friend is no formality. I own no foes. My business in life has been for the past 33 years to enlist the friendship of the whole of humanity by befriending mankind irrespective of race, color, or creed. I hope you will have the time and desire to know how a good portion of humanity who have been living under the influence of that doctrine of universal friendship view your action. We have no doubt about your bravery or devotion to your fatherland, nor do we believe that you are the monster described by your opponents. But your own writings and pronouncements, and those of your friends and admirers, leave no room for doubt that many of your acts are monstrous and unbecoming of human dignity. Such are your humiliation of Czechoslovakia, the rape of Poland, and the swallowing of Denmark. We have been taught from childhood to regard them as acts degrading humanity. Hence, we cannot possibly wish success to your arms. But ours is a unique position. We resist British imperialism no less than Nazism. 1/5 of the human race has been brought under the British heel by means that will not bear scrutiny. Our resistance to it does not mean harm to the British people. We seek to convert them, not to defeat them on the battlefield. Ours is an unarmed revolt against the British rule. We are determined to make their rule impossible by non-violent non-cooperation. No spoliator can compass his end without a certain degree of cooperation, willing or compulsory, of the victim. Our rulers may have our land and bodies, but not our souls. If a fair number of men and women be found who would be prepared to lay down their lives rather than bend the knee, they would have shown the way to freedom from the tyranny of violence. We have attained a very fair measure of success through non-violent effort. In non-violent technique, there is no such thing as defeat. It is all do or die, without killing or hurting. You are leaving no legacy to your people of which they would feel proud. I therefore appeal to you, in the name of humanity, to stop the war.
Here, Gandhi was making a historical prophecy. He saw that violence is a spiraling cycle, and that a greater violence, perhaps nuclear power or the crushing bombardment of the Allies, would destroy Germany. The warning, "You will be beaten with your own weapon," was the fate of a man who committed suicide amidst the ruins of Berlin in 1945. This letter, too, never reached Hitler. British censorship once again stifled the voice of truth. But Gandhi's prophecy came true, word for word. Hitler drowned in the storm of violence he himself created. He left behind not a 1,000-year Reich, but only shame, destruction, and the corpses of millions. Gandhi, on the other hand, without picking up a single weapon, without firing a single bullet, brought the world's greatest empire, Britain, to its knees. Brute force burned the world, but ultimately destroyed itself. Soul force, however, won a slow, silent, but lasting victory.
If those letters had arrived, would history have changed? Could a dictator have awakened at the words, "Dear friend"? We will never know. All we know is that history was deaf on that day. What do you think? Can the power of the pen stop the treads of a tank? Or can some monsters only be stopped by their own destruction? This is Unstamped Letters. Until we meet in the next letter, in another sealed room of history. Goodbye.